Namaste friends, welcome to The Way Om Yoga. My name is Sarah and I'm going to be your instructor for this class. So today's class, I just wanted to break down some warm-up series that you're going to see often in a lot of my sequences actually. Especially if you attend any type of community type yoga class, or if you attend yoga at a studio, you're probably going to see this warm-up pretty often. And the warm-up I'm referring to specifically is Sun Salutation A, or in Sanskrit it's Surya Namaskara A. So what I wanted to do in this video is just simply really break down each and every step of this series or of this warm-up. So this is really good if you're brand new to yoga, if you're still considered a beginner, you're still just kind of testing the waters. It's a really good way to troubleshoot and just see where you can avoid some kind of common pitfalls. A lot of times if we're not executing certain poses correctly in this series, this could blow out a shoulder, it could lead to injury, and I definitely want you practicing for the long haul. So this is really good for a beginner. But for my friends out there that are maybe in a yoga teacher training, I know I would have really appreciated a video like this, just breaking down step by step how to teach and how to execute the Sun Salutation series. So we're gonna just start off with Sun Salutation A, and I invite you just to join me in mountain pose, so Tadasana. So I'm gonna show you from the front here what it's gonna look like, but in just a moment, I'm gonna start at the top of my mat. So for Tadasana, we're gonna ground down through all 10 toes, and if you can even just imagine for a moment that you had a square traced on the bottom of your feet. If you were making even placement with all four corners of that square, what would that feel like? How grounded would you feel? How connected to the mat would you feel in this pose? What I like to tell my students too is I want you to activate those inner thighs. So think of kind of gently hugging those thighs inward towards midline. It's very subtle. It's not going to be that noticeable. But notice as you start to activate the inner thigh muscles, the adductors, how that turns on the core subtly. So you're going to feel that connection to your core strength as well as we stand in this pose. We're going to roll the shoulder heads down and away. Palms are going to be facing forward, okay? So I'm going to show you from this angle now. So starting at the top of your mat, go ahead and find that activation that I just kind of coached you on. And then from here, in one smooth motion on your next inhale, we're gonna sweep both arms up towards the ceiling. And then from here, we're gonna exhale. We're gonna start to fold forward from the waist. Now notice, I have a slight bend in my knees. That's okay. My hamstrings are usually pretty tight. I cycle. I'm also a nurse. I'm on my feet all the time, so my hamstrings are always really tight. So if that's you, don't worry about locking out your knees as you swan dive forward. Keep a micro bend or a large bend, just depending, okay? So you're gonna notice me doing that. So I'm going to fold forward into forward fold. In Sanskrit, this is called Uttanasana. I'm going to let my head and neck just hang heavy here. And once again, just being mindful of any tightness that you might be experiencing in those hamstrings, okay? And then from here, on your next inhalation, you're going to press your fingertips either against your shins. For some of us, it might be the tops of the thighs, maybe a set of yoga blocks. For some of us, you might be able to make contact with your yoga mat. So wherever you are, I'm going to take my fingertips to shins since I'm not that warmed up, and I'm going to elongate through my spine. Now notice I'm not cranking my head back trying to look towards the ceiling. My gaze is actually slightly down and away from me, just a few inches, because I want to keep that spine nice and long and in neutral, okay? So this is an inhale. Exhale, let's come back into that forward fold Uttanasana. This time, you are going to bend the knees deeply. You're going to plant the hands firmly onto the mat. And for this first option, yogis, I want you to step back into plank pose here, okay? So from plank pose, you have some options, friends. You can either take this like I was, just with the knees off the mat, or you can simply bring your knees to the floor. For the sake of demonstration, I'm just going to bring my knees to the floor, okay? And then from here, on your next inhalation, we're going to shift our weight forward. And actually, before we go any further, I want you to play with that. So whether your knees are off the mat or not, I want you just to play around with just shifting the weight in the ball of your feet, just to understand what I'm saying here. All right? So now that we have that, on your next inhalation, we're going to go ahead and shift forward. And then exhale, we're going to lower all the way down onto our bellies nice and slow. Now notice, I was hugging in my elbows nice and tight towards my rib cage here for Chaturanga. So that's what that lowering action is here. So you can kind of see I'm creating a 90-degree shelf here. best possible. I'm keeping the collarbones nice and wide as I come forward into my chaturanga as I lower onto my belly. So let's try that once again. So whether you're from plank pose with the knees off the mat, again, I'm gonna come down onto my knees just for the sake of demonstration. I'm gonna inhale, I'm gonna start to shift my weight forward. So shoulder heads are actually slightly past the wrist here, okay? And then as you exhale, we're gonna lower down in one smooth motion through chaturanga. So again, elbows are hugging in, they're not out wide. From here, I'm gonna press down firmly through my hands and the tops of my feet here. And I'm gonna just take just the slightest micro back bend. This is called cobra pose. And notice I'm just activating my back, the posterior chain, so meaning my glutes, my hamstrings are activated, my lower back is activated. And I'm gonna draw my navel in towards my spine here, so just a baby back bend. And then exhale, I'm gonna lower back down onto my mat, and in one smooth motion, I'm gonna press up. Again, I'm gonna press up through hands and knees, but again, you're welcome, if you have it in your practice, to press up through plank pose. And then we're gonna shift our weight back into downward facing dog. Now downward facing dog, hands are about shoulder distance apart, feet are about hip distance apart, okay? And again, friends, if you're like me and your hamstrings are a little bit on the tighter side, you can walk your dog in. So no need to, take this really, really wide or, force the heels down on the mat. You could even keep a micro bend here, okay, friends? And that's actually better, especially as we're warming up. You don't want to injure the back. You don't want to put any undue strain on the backs of the legs, okay? And then from here, on your next inhalation, yogi's choice. So you can either walk your feet back into that forward fold. Some of you may have it in your practice. You can do like a light hop forward, maybe a couple hops forward until we're back in Uttanasana once again, okay? So it's like completing a full cycle here is what we're doing. On your next inhalation, we're gonna do that halfway lift once again. Exhale, let's come back into forward fold. Inhale, we'll sweep the arms up towards the ceiling. Exhale, hands come together at heart center. So what we're gonna do now is just do that full sequence in order, so continuing in that flow without interruption. But of course, you can always go back and rewatch it just to fine tune anything if you need to. So let's go ahead and just kind of integrate this and bring it all together. On your next inhalation, let's sweep up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, let's step back into plank pose. Inhale, come forward. Exhale, we'll lower down slow through chaturanga. Inhale, cobra pose, just baby back bend. And again, it doesn't have to be as high as I'm going. It could literally be here, okay? Exhale, let's press back up through plank pose. It can be through hands and knees or not. Shifting our weight back into downward facing dog. I always like to move around a little bit in my dog. And then from here, on your next inhalation, again, we can walk the feet forward, we can hop forward, back into Uttanasana, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, Uttanasana. Inhale, we'll sweep back up towards the ceiling. Exhale, hands come together at heart center. And well done, my friends, you just did your Sun Salutation A, so a job well done. I will see you in the next video where I will be covering Sun Salutation B. All right, I'll see you guys then. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.